Is Theresa May a feminist icon? So that's the pitch question that Good Morning Britain had this morning. I came across a video on that question and uh, had some interesting responses. So, Good Morning Britain, presented by Kate Garraway and Ben Shepherd, had two guests on: the journalist Amanda Platel and the journalist Lauren Booth, who's known as the sister-in-law of Cherie Booth and a convert to Islam. I'm just mentioning that because like she's a visible hijabi, so you wear your heart on your sleeve, people will say something. Um, but anyway, the question is Theresa May a feminist icon? And the consensus was kind of no. Platel was quite scathing in her critique of May, although she did recognise that before becoming Prime Minister, May had done a number of things in terms of human rights for women and girls. Um, there's a few things I want to say. Firstly, I'll put a link to this segment. It was a little bit cringeworthy to watch because it was just about, well, who can have the most male bashing points. I mean, there was one point Amanda Platel turned to the only man in the room, Ben Shepherd, and said, "Oh, sorry, Ben, but we have something that you don't, which is compassion and I think the word you used was congeniality." Ben Shepherd looked a bit kind of awkward at that point. I mean, that's nonsense for Platel to say that men in positions of power have no compassion and women do. Um, I think the fundamental issue here is you can't say all men are like this and all women are like that. And then Lauren Booth came out with something about toxic masculinity. I mean, just imagine the furore if someone had mentioned toxic femininity or toxic feminism, more to the point. I'm a little bit tired of casual feminist sexism, and you see it all the time. It's just that it gets a free pass. I mean, Ben Shepherd was the only man in the room, and he had to listen to that crap. Although, to be fair, I think he was virtue signaling a little bit and kind of pitching the question himself. Um, the thing is, Margaret Thatcher only had one other woman in her cabinet, Baroness someone, I forget her name now, but neither Thatcher or May are necessarily automatically put in the bracket of great feminist icons in the way that someone like, I don't know, Emmeline Pankhurst would be. Although Thatcher was a history maker. But if you're going to argue that simply being in a position of office, and to be fair, Amanda Platel did make this point, qualifies someone as a feminist icon, then every woman leader is a feminist icon, no matter how bad they are. So carry them. Hong Kong's embattled, controversial chief executive is a feminist icon. And I think if you ask most Hong Kongers that, they would absolutely be, they would actually shun that suggestion. So simply being in high office as a woman, I don't think is necessarily a feminist achievement. I think actually there's too much obsession from the media and from political parties about women in office. In her resignation speech, May said, "I'm the second woman prime minister, but not the last." Now, I do believe it would be very unlikely for there not to be other women getting to the role of prime minister within my lifetime. Probably still more men, but I think, I mean, let's say I lived in my 80s, right? Let's say I see 20, 23 prime ministers in my lifetime. I suspect something like 5 to 8 of them will be women, given the current sort of ratio. Um, but I honestly think the average member of the public really doesn't care. I no longer think it is an issue if the prime minister is a man or a woman. I really don't think. The thing is, back in the 80s or 79, when Thatcher got that position, of course it was newsworthy. It was a historic event. When we get our first visible ethnic minority prime minister, Disraeli was technically a minority, but the first visible minority prime minister, that will be an historic event. Um, Incidentally, Boris Johnson is only the second Prime Minister to be born outside the United Kingdom or the British Isles, the other being Andrew Bonar Law back in 1922, who was born in New Brunswick. So in terms of this question, is May a feminist? One thing I actually liked about May is I don't think that during her premiership, whatever other faults she may have had, she didn't constantly say, "Oh, it's because I'm a woman." So when she was going through some fierce criticism, she never took that line that certain Labour women would, "Oh, it's because I'm a woman," and I respect that. I've never seen May as a militant feminist, and that's a good thing. I think the problem, Labour often says, why have we never had a woman prime minister? Well, one thing is precisely because they make such an issue of it. This can apply to other demographics as well. And I think one reason going outside the United Kingdom here, why Obama was successful in getting elected, was he didn't obsess about being the black candidate. You know, that wasn't his pitch the way previous candidates had done. He made a convincing argument that he would be a candidate for all Americans. Um, I would say Andrew Yang is doing that. He would, I mean, I don't think he's going to get through, but if he was the first Asian American president, that would be a big thing. But he's not campaigning on that. Theresa May, I'm not going to say she's always avoided feminism, that's not true, but in her premiership at least, she has never complained about being a woman during her premiership, or at least not often, not as much as certain Labour women would. And I respect that because I think meritocracy has to be the focus. Um, as for May being a feminist, well, you know, it's this whole labeling thing, what people call themselves. I mean, feminism has lots of schools of thought, and as third wave feminism has shown, the modern movement's pretty intolerant to dissenting viewpoints. Um, I will say this though, this sort of casual anti-male sexism, if the pitch to be as feminist as possible is to see who can, um, you know, male shame as much as possible, that's just deluded. It won't work that way. Successful women are women who don't play the victim, who don't always say it's because I'm a woman. I find they're the most successful women. Those women who have a chip on their shoulder and they say, "Oh, it's because I'm a woman." Um, and they always, and you get some in the Tory party as well. This isn't solely a left wing domain. You know, I've seen many women in politics in this country. Like you see it in election coverage, a man and a woman MP are being interviewed, and you know, in the nature of politics, there's a bit of talking over each other. Then she's like, "Oh, I don't like the condescending style." I've seen this many times, and it's a bit of a go-to, like, "Oh, it's because I'm a woman." Spare me. I really get tired of that. I think it's divisive nonsense. You know, there are many strong, capable women who don't need to rely on "it's because I'm a woman." I think they're the most successful women. In fact, I think Thatcher, one reason she was so electorally successful is that while she certainly enjoyed the Iron Lady moniker, um, I don't know if she even called herself a feminist. I don't think she did. Maybe she did. I can't recall. But yeah. So, you know, May not being a great PM, it's not because she's a woman. It's just because she's an individual. We could have another woman prime minister who's very strong, you know. So I think we need to get away from this thing, man or woman. I'm focused on. I'm not saying it's irrelevant. I'm not saying that being a woman doesn't affect um, the situation someone faces in Parliament. I'm not there. I can't say that, but I do think the most successful women are those who don't kind of obsess on being women. They just get on with it. As for toxic masculinity, what the hell does that mean? I mean, it seems to me nowadays, if men have an opinion, if a male MP disagrees with a woman, oh well, he's being a misogynist. You know, it's when these sort of terms are thrown around, it really irks me off. And yet there's double standards because casual anti-male sexism is a okay. Let me know your thoughts.